Oh, hello. I am Ellie Paskell. I'm a somatic coach and I'm currently taking a journey to visit sacred sites and energetic power points on the planet to discover what they teach us about healing. Healing in relationship to energy, aliveness, exhaustion, and chronic fatigue. And I'm so excited to be coming to you now, a month into my first trip away, and I bring you here now to under the stars at the place where I've been for this past month, a beautiful place in Gloucestershire in England called Painswick. And what a month it has been. I have swam in river, I have visited standing stones and pyramids. I've taken a medicine walk with sisters. I have spent time alone. I've laid on the earth. I have danced in the rain. I've been to Goddess Temple. I have been with deer and owl and bee and badger. And there is so much that I want to tell you, but I have to narrow it down, and there's a very strong piece that has been whispering its way into my awareness this past month, and I'm delighted to share it with you now. So a really big piece that has arisen is the question of, what does sacred mean? This is why I've decided to do this video today from under the starry sky, because this, the wind, the energy of aliveness, and for all of the sites that I've been to, the site that has made me present with the most awe has been the sky, the night sky, filled with stars. I went to Avebury, the standing stones at Avebury, and while it was wonderful to see that, it's really made me tune in to what it really means for me. Sacred means that which is important. To me, it means the lifeblood of existence, which is the energy of what's real. And I invite you to take a breath with that and let that question, that concept drop into you. What does real mean for you? To me, it means life force, right? It means what really matters. It means bodies and humanness and sentience. It means the unfathomable way our life force moves through everything, the energy of creation. The image that I received when I first got the sacred instructions to take this trip to the sacred sites was of potent life force flowing through me at those places. So my beacon is the felt sense experience of this, and I went to the Stone Circle at Avebury and also to Silbury Hill in Wiltshire 2 weeks ago. Silbury Hill, which you can see here, is one of Britain's equivalents to a pyramid. My instinct is that it was put in place for the same reasons. And while it was awesome to go there, it really made me realize that my body isn't asking me to go to places where there's cars and hustle and bustle. It's asking me to be where our minds go quiet, because we know that we are in the presence of what made us. And in the absence of words, the unseen world is felt. Right. So my body is saying yes to the places, the structures, the lands, the waters where I feel this life force moving through me, where she tells me that I will experience that. And one of the things, the main thing that has been tapping on me this past month is a time when our connection to this life force was severed. There used to be many more sacred sites, such as wells and standing stones and temples dedicated to female deities, than we have now across Europe and beyond. For 40,000 years. For 40,000 years! What can be called paganism, so a way of life and a way of worship about being in reverent connection to nature, to the earth, to our bodies. This was what could be called the main religion in Europe up until the 4th century when that was severed. And I could go into why and how and who did it, but it is so important that this is not about blame. If there is anger, bring it. It gets to be here. Everything that you experience gets to be here. And also, we're on a path of learning to hold what arises in our body whilst also dancing with forgiveness, because healing means to return to wholeness, and we're not just talking about returning to wholeness in our own beings. That is synonymous with returning to wholeness as humanity. This is a time when the masculine and the feminine are to dance together again in equal partnership. So if there's anger, if there's resentment, let it be, but let's be mindful about that. But what I will say is that it seems this disconnection from our connection with the earth, with nature and our bodies, that the Roman Catholic Church had a significant part to play in this. By the time we got to the 4th century, it had been believed for thousands of years that we could work with nature to invoke healing. So people were cured by being passed through hollow stones, and eye illnesses were healed at wells. It was known that standing stones enhanced fertility. We knew our power. We knew our place in the world of energy and nature and aliveness, and we knew how to channel it. It was innate, it was part of life. But then between the 4th and the 12th centuries, the Roman Catholic Church came in and they banned worship at these sites. And it was decreed, let no Christians place lights at the temples of standing closures, for by doing so he is seen to consecrate to the devil. So by the time we got to the 11th century, worship at the sacred sites was actually made illegal. And the penalties for disobeying this were massive. So women who visited standing stones to increase fertility were made to fast for 3 years. But of course, people disobeyed the law because to go to the sacred sites, to be with the earth, this was life. This was our flow of life. This was our source of healing and connection and aliveness and sense and meaning and joy. So what happened was that the Roman Catholic Church, they changed tactics and they started to assimilate the sites. So they took them on for their own, or they built new structures in the same places for their own purposes. And quite a number of the words that I'm using here came from a documentary, so I want to give homage to that and thanks to that. So it's a documentary called Stairways to Heaven, The Practical Magic of Sacred Space. And this is by Kyle Pierce, so thank you, Kyle. And he says within it, even though there was an abundance of empty land, the Catholic Church chose to acquire the old temples and put up its own churches on the same sites. They knew that the temples, the pagan temples, the standing stones, the wells, they weren't put haphazardly on the earth, but on strategic points of energy. And as this assimilation happened, the Celtic and the pagan gods were either Christianized or discredited. So, the temples that had been formerly dedicated to female deities were reappropriated to the Virgin Mary. And the pagan gods are of fertility, Pan, and of loving fire, Santam, were twisted into this new image of fear, Satan. And it's significant to point out that these temples, these pagan temples, had been decorated, designed, embellished, filled with images of flowing, living life force, symbolized by beautiful long dragons. But these were repackaged in the new structures, and what we got instead were violent images of the dragon being speared by St. Michael. So we had this experience happening where places where we had gone to connect with our life force and to celebrate it and to channel it, this flowing energy, this vital life force, this connection to all of this was now associated with a new word: evil. And this process of assimilation and the way in which the Roman Catholic Church was working in the world represented that things had changed, that the forces of nature, which were once used for our benefit, they were now subjugated and under the control of a middleman. And when I say that, it makes me want to make the somatic shape of being like closed up and muted, and I'm curious how it lands for you. So again, where we used to celebrate and collaborate with our vital energies, our sexual energies, our prana, our life force, our aliveness, we were encouraged to fear it and call it evil. And so with that, I'm tuning back into my intention. I'm tuning back into the guidance I received on why to take this journey. Go to the sacred sites. Put your body on the earth. Feel what is there. And discover what they teach about healing. Healing in relation to energy, aliveness, exhaustion and chronic fatigue. And now we find ourselves with this epidemic of chronic illness. And the doctors are scratching their head and saying, we don't know what this is about. And we have people with inexplicably exhausted and painful bodies. So I'm inviting you now to take a breath with this piece of history of her story and see how it's landing in your body. You know, you might be new to my work, so I'll tell you a little bit about my journey. In my early 20s, just as much was taking off in my life, my body started to shut down. I started to experience a heaviness, a block, which my mind just could not compute. And after 5 or so years of trying to ignore that, trying all my old tactics, I finally surrendered and I listened to my body and I let her guide me to a new way of being, to a new way of healing, to do what she needed to do in order to show me where my aliveness truly was, to get back in alignment with my true prana, my true flow. And a couple of years into that journey, I started to have an experience of there being huge amounts of energy in my body, but it was blocked, not in the way that it had been blocked originally. It didn't feel like fatigue. It felt like my energy body was wearing a baby grow that was too small. And I remember knowing, like, wrestling energetically, thinking, I'm blocking my energy. I'm, on some level, I'm doing this, right? And what is that about? So that was now 9 years ago, and I have traversed huge amounts of healing and wonder and magic and understanding. And to me, this piece here, it feels like another piece of the story. So again, I invite you to tune into how this is landing for you. You know, as well as there being an epidemic of chronic illness in the world at this time, there's an epidemic of self-criticism. There's an epidemic of self-doubt. There's an epidemic of us being disconnected from our power. And I, for one, am over it. I have my roots going down into the earth and my mind throwing off shackles and saying, come on now, it is time. It is time to let go of that old crap. And while I'm really not inviting you to dwell in them, I'm not inviting you to pitch your tent in this piece of our past where we were told to mistrust the energy in our bodies and to think that our juiciness and our sexuality and our aliveness and our connection to all that is was wrong. But this is an opening to an ancient and now new way of being where we are dropping back into our power through the portals of our bodies. And this is what our bodies are guiding us to do at this time. With every breath, with every sensation, your body is guiding you back to wholeness. She's showing you with deep love if there's a sense of block, a niggle, a no, a fatigue, a pain in your body. It's guidance. It's guidance towards self-forgiveness, self-love, opening to the incredible creature that you are. And so I'm curious, as you're hearing me share these pieces, what's here for you? If your body were to really spread her wings, what's wanting to awaken? Is there messiness? Is there sexuality? Is there dirt? Is there mess? Is there joy? Is there exuberance? Is there personality, emotion? Is there fatigue that needs to be let be? What are you ready to let fly? What flows through you is the same energy that is channeled at the sacred sites. And if you are ready to let the being that you truly are take all the space that they need, if you are ready to open to unconditional love and forgiveness and release of self-criticism and self-questioning and second-guessing, and let yourself root into your power, root into the being that you truly are, type yes in the chat. And if you would like support to return to your sacred self-love, your original relationship with yourself, that being one of reverence and self-respect and freedom and joy and presence and self-allowing, I invite you to take your spot in my Self-Love Sunday session. So these are my monthly sessions that I hold live, and you can take your place without charge simply by clicking the link beneath this video in the YouTube comments. If you're on Instagram, you can go to the link in my bio for Self-Love Sundays. If you're in Facebook, look for the comment beneath the video. I can't wait to see you there. You're so welcome. And I invite you as ever to like this video if you've liked it, to subscribe so that you can receive the updates as I take this journey, and share it with somebody who it will nourish, who it will inspire. And for now, from wonderful Painswick, from the magic of this place that has held me in this first chunky piece of my journey, I bid you farewell, and I'll see you soon.